Omobola Sandra and Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Today is the 10th of July 2024. It's a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. The weather is looking funny, so you may want to go out prepared this morning. All right, your raincoats or your umbrellas, and ensure that you have something warm close by because the clouds are looking heavy. Very important for you to, stay prepared and stay proactive. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. For the next few minutes, we'll be looking through the major stories trending on the front pages of our papers. We have our papers here, The Punch, The Guardian, and Vanguard newspaper in a particular order. And we'll do that up until about 8:30. 8:30, we take a short break. We're back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus. And today, of course, we're going to be running that up until about 9:45. My name is Omobola Sandra. I will not be doing this alone. Fuad Sahid will join via the phone line and will be giving in-depth analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. And before we go into, the major stories on the front pages of our papers, I have the Punch here with me. I'll be kicking things off with the Punch newspaper, which of course is still looking at the full crisis conversation and NNPC resolution, or what they're planning to do, or the measures that they're planning to take as regards a resolution to that particular situation. But before we go into all of that, very, very quickly, good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Hope it's not serious.
Well, it's just drizzling here, not anything heavy.
No.
But of course, the forecast says it's going to be heavy all through today, 24 hours. That's what the forecast is saying.
Oh. Well, there you have it, Lagosian. So please ensure that you, do everything that you can to stay prepared. Your umbrellas, your raincoats, your mentholatum or your menthols that you used to rub your chest for the cold not to get into you, and all of that. Everything.
Then stay away from the floods. Let's keep safe.
How do we stay away from the floods, Fad? Every road in Lagos will be flooded. How do we do that?
Whatever you can do, maybe just stay away from the flood. How you can do it, whatever.
Stay indoors.
Safe, really. And then for our pupils, our students who are going to be going to school, I think our parents have to be on top of the situation, because in Lagos there are situations where young ones lead themselves to school. Sometimes you see very small children leading each other, leading one another to school, leading a 3-year-old, and you wonder really where are the parents. So it's not the time to leave these young lads to themselves. If you have to now go to school to pick them up, please just do that. We need to keep these young ones safe. I think the last time out there was a young boy that was washed away. I think somewhere in the 𝐴̀tún, so we shouldn't be having a repeat of that. Just to get everybody safe today, because like I said, the forecast is saying it's going to be heavy all through today.
All through the day. And in addition to that, Fuhad, it's also important for us to put it out there that cholera is still out there. So please, let's do all that we can to ensure that even as we are trying to stay away from the flood and all of that, we don't find ourselves, trying to navigate through dirty waters and all of that. These are the things that, brings about all the conversation as regards poor hygiene.
Keep our environment clean.
Yes, very, very important. Let's ensure that we don't have stagnant water around our environment. These are the things that we also need to pay attention to. Very, very important. All right, let's get into the major stories for this morning. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can drop your your own submission as the show progresses, and we'll take them by the time we get to Milan Focus. I'll kick things off with a major headline on the front page of The Punch, which states, full crisis lingers as NNPC seeks fresh $2 billion crude-backed loan. So we have riders here. NNPC in talks for another oil bank loan to boost its finances, says Kyari. Oil firm wants new loan against 30,000 to 35,000 barrels per day of crude production. I don't know. Are we serious in this country?
Is that a question or just you're making a comment?
So what we're looking at getting, I thought they said the reason for the crisis was logistics, and I mean, it was logistics. That was what we're told, that they had birthing issues. Yeah, that's what we got. I mean, that the vessels had berthing issues at the ports, and that's what was causing the delay and all of that. And here we are now. The Nigeria National Petroleum Company is in talks for another oil-backed loan to boost its finances and allow investment in its business. And sources familiar with the situation said the oil firm aims to raise at least $2 billion through this new proposed loan. All right, let's not forget that sometime last year in August 2023, that is, NNPC announced that they secured a $3.3 billion emergency crude oil repayment loan from Afrexim
Bank. Yeah.
All right. So when the $3.3 billion loan is added to this newly proposed $2 billion, it means the National Oil Company is raising its crude bank loans to $5.3 billion. Now we can't ascertain how much the oil company has repaid from that 3.3 that we borrowed last year. We don't know how much we have paid so far from that one. But then,
everything is done in secrecy, Sandra. We're never open.
Especially with this PMS situation, especially with this our oil situation. All right. But as I mentioned earlier, when marketers were trying to give explanation as regards the shortage, the reason why the queues are back in different parts of the country, they said there's shortage of supply by NNPC, who is the sole importer of PMS, and other dealers stopped importing due to their inability to, of course, access dollars and all of that. So they're finding it difficult because of the forex exchange. So now we're taking more crude back. I thought we declared war on oil, but can we solve the oil?
That's the war now. And you declare war.
So how do we pay this one now?
It's the war now. We use the war to pay it. When the man said he was declaring war, we were asking questions. What kind of war are you declaring? Against who and who, really? And what has led to the war? So this is part of the war. Because again, we're a country where we don't really answer our questions. We don't ask the right questions to get even the right answer. Even when the question is asked, nobody answers, and nobody else to account for anything. Again, reading this story this morning, something keeps coming to mind. Number one, I just remember Aliko Dangote and Italian refinery. What becomes of that refinery if we're not careful? Again, I'm sure it's going to continue to battle this attempt to want to run that refinery aground. Because again, what is in a refinery if you can't get crude oil to refine, to refine? You understand what I'm saying? Because again, while we are still talking about low crude oil production, I think there's also a report in the Vanguard newspaper that highlights properly our predicament when it comes to even the budget. Our budget is heavily invested on how well we are able to produce crude oil, Sandra. Whatever we are hoping to finance, how we are hoping to finance this 2024 budget is actually on our ability to be able to meet up with our OPEC quota and how well we are able to do crude oil production. We are not even doing close to our OPEC quota. If we are not meeting our OPEC quota, how are we going to be able to meet with domestic supply, especially when it comes to what the Dangote refinery needs? On a daily basis as we speak, Sandra, for that refinery to work to full capacity, it will be needing at least at around 600 to 650,000 barrels of crude a day. Look, I'm not even going to be talking about the scarcity we have. I've answered that question severally. I've made my opinion known on that. I think it's time for Mr. Military to leave that space. And it's not just the only one. I think at the topmost hierarchy of the oil sector, NNPCL, the entire oil sector value chain, it's time to tell these guys to leave. They really have nothing more to offer. than this continued pain, anguish, and excuses, lame duck excuses, that they keep giving every time. Part of the excuses is that we're also doing panic buying. They keep coming up with that ridiculous, excuse for this level of incompetence that we've seen for so many years. But again, on this story, I'm not surprised, Sandra. Again, there are layers and layers of confusion, layers and layers of secrecy, lack of transparency as far as the management of our oil sector is concerned. So I'm not surprised that, again, this report is saying that, look, the NNPCL has decided again to borrow an oil-backed loan of $2 billion. Added to their fledgling bank loan, we are talking about $5.something billion. What we've been able to do with that, because again, we are going to be paying back with crude. On this one now, they are looking at about 30 to 40,000 barrels of crude, to repay on a daily basis. This problem means that we are not even ready at all to solve the problem. Yeah, there are issues with investment in the upstream sector. People are talking about the need to invest more, But while we are talking about this IOC bringing in more investment at that level of the value chain, a Total Energy is telling us that, look, I'm taking my $6 billion investment to Angola because of your inconsistent policy. So, again, if you aggregate all of these issues, Sandra, we are in a very terrible place. I see lack of commitment, I see inefficiency, I see corruption, staring us in the face as far as the oil sector is concerned. Sadly, Nigerians will continue to suffer in the midst of plenty. This is the story of an oil-producing nation that continues to suffer from what God has given to it freely. We are an oil-producing nation, for God's sake, Sandra. The 6th largest oil-producing nation in the world. Look at our story, Sandra. Just imagine our story.
That is the story, Fuad. And I tried to dig deeper as regards what exactly these funds would be used for, or what exactly we are requesting, or what do we need this money for at this time. And what I'm getting is that they're raising this cash to be used for NNPC's business activities,
what are those business activities, Sandra? Which
includes supporting production growth.
Which production? Which particular production are you talking about?
So that is the war. So they need this money to fight the war.
No, sir. If you're talking about investment, look, what production are they talking about? The NNPCL will not be the one to begin to invest in production at the upstream sector. The IOC bringing those investors.
Because Kyari is saying, and I'm quoting, we have no problem covering our petrol payments. This is just money for normal business.
That's what they keep saying. But it's obvious that they have a lot of problems paying some of these their contractors who are bringing the product for them. Standard. It's obvious. They keep living in denial. They keep lying to Nigerians. Their books are not balanced. Permit me to use that word. All of those under recovery thing that telling us it's all lies. It's obvious that the NNPCL has been paying subsidy and they cannot keep up with those payments again.
That's where I was getting. That's where I was leading you to. Like, let's just call a spade at this point now, because what we have in this report now is that there's lack of cash due to the fact that there's rising fuel subsidy costs, and that the new loan would help them to pay off these subsidies.
That is it, Sandra. Forget all the lies. Forget all the lies. They've run into trouble. They've been paying subsidy through the back door. They are not solvent. They need liquidity to continue to pay. And that's just the truth. Well, they can pick us up on this, but that's the reality. They can take us on this, come up with anything. But the fact is that, look, their books are terrible, in tatters. Their financials are in complete tatters, and they need to find money to now meet up, because that's why we're having this cast. Forget about all the lies, really. The reports have told us that, look, some of the people who are bringing in these things are saying that, look, pay us for us to continue to give you supply. They can continue to lie to us, but the reality and the facts on ground are showing that, look, this company is being run by inefficient, corrupt ineptitude. That's what you have in that NNPCL. And until we reach that place of these elements, nothing will change.
Well, just in case someone is probably wondering, the last $3.3 billion that was taken by NNPCL from Afrexim Bank, if we dig deeper into that, the explanation we got then was that the loan will be used to support federal government in stabilizing Nigeria's exchange rates. That was what we're told.
So what are stabilized now, Sandra? The naira keeps falling.
That's right. I said it was supposed to help us to attend to some dollar obligations.
Now, so after all of the monies that we collected, have we been able to stabilize the naira? It keeps falling, Sandra.
There's a lot to unpack from this one. NNPC has also said repayments are strategically planned and tied to future oil sales with conservative pricing and oil sales contract, mitigating risk associated with oil price volatility. So it's good to. It's
when
good
we're
to
looking for crude to give to Dangote refinery, we are still collecting loans backed by crude oil production that we are not even doing enough, Sandra. That's why I don't. Maybe that's why Alhaji Aliko Dangote looked at himself and said, "Had I known, I no go near this thing. I could not stay with my cement, JJ."
That's really, really unfortunate for it. But then more details of that particular story on page 25.
So Sandra, when Port Harcourt comes now, when Warri comes, when Kaduna refinery comes, all of the so-called modular refining licenses we have.
Off all our oil crude.
So where would they get crude oil now? They will be importing crude again.
We have loaned off all our crude.
Sandra, well,
it's all right.
It's wrong with my country.
It's okay, fine. It's okay.
No,
Because I know you probably have plans to have your own refinery, but don't worry.
You don't make
all right, more details on page 25 of the Punch newspaper, and that's as regards NNPC seeking fresh $2 billion crude-backed loan. We're not yet sure which finance house or which or where they will get.
They will give us those people will give us.
But Afrexim has said, as of now, they are not, exposed to giving Nigeria anymore.
There are people that will give us those ones. Those ones they will give us. They are there.
The story is on page 25. Anyways, moving on now. Still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we also have here court orders for feature of NIMASA funds diverted under Jonathan government. And that is on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here on the front page of the Punch how Emefiele awarded CBN contracts to own companies, says witness. Fuad, I'm sorry at this point now. I don't know. I just, my thoughts and prayers with former CBN governor Godwin.
Should I use your prayer for yourself? It's something very important. Did you chop all? Did you get any?
Fuad.
Then you are using your prayer for unless you just I'm not saying.
It's just.
I would rather that you.
It's just the humanity.
Use your prayer.
It's just the humanity in me.
Which humanity now? You say somebody was diverting public funds, so you should be talking about humanity.
Well,
you talking about humanity, and I should be talking about.
There's a witness here. There's a witness here. A banker, Mrs. Ifeoma Ogbonnaya, who told the court that Emefiele abused his office by awarding CBN contracts to his personal firms. And there's just been a lot of accusation of abuse of office and illegal allocation, that has been attributed to Emefiele in recent time. This is the 5th prosecution witness who says she had never had any dealings with Emefiele, but that she was receiving instructions from his wife, Margaret Emefiele, to transfer money from CBN into their private company's account.
Well, we wait to see how all of this ends, Sandra, because again, we just keep getting this report. Mind-boggling revelations, Sandra. Mind-boggling, troubling revelations, really, as to what happened under Emefiele. But for anybody that may think that this is just about Emefiele, I think you need to really look at systemic corruption that is widespread in Nigeria. It's not just about Emefiele. We are not saying it's not been found guilty yet, Sandra, of any of these. Of course,
but the allegations just keep coming.
And the revelations too, get us completely troubled. But while you're talking about Emefiele, remember that there's also, Sakia Farouk, the White Lion is still there hiding away somewhere. You have Adi Sirika,
the aviation
Air Nigeria man. So revelations too,
his daughter and his brother.
So you see, so when I say these things are mind-blowing and troubling, it's just that these are the people who have been able to bring out. Look, I think ICPC recently just said that, some COVID-19 funds were found somewhere in one MDA, kept there quietly, about 10 billion naira or so. So when we talk about systemic and endemic corruption in the country, this is exactly what we're talking about. And that's why nothing gets done. We keep appropriating monies, we keep doing all manner of things every year, we read the budget, and that's why, yesterday we're talking about anything we say. Let us put our corruption index beside it. Because we tell you, you have to look at your GDP to debt ratio. It still gives you more opportunity to borrow more. You borrow money, this is where it ends, standard. Corruption just takes it over. So that's why anytime they talk to you about, this is what they do in other places. America is still borrowing a lot of money. Look at China. Just imagine China's debt. It's blah, 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 blah. When they borrow money in China, would anybody dare touch it? You know the consequence that if you steal money in China. Standard. So those countries know that, look, the first thing you have to tackle for you to have any meaningful progress as a nation is to kill corruption. Not by just making statements. So serious consequences, you know what it means. If they catch you, you are in for it. Even in the United States and some of these other countries, because they know that, look, you can have the best ideas and policies in the world. If you don't fight and kill corruption, you are just joking. You are passing around.
Singapore. It was always
try it in Singapore now.
It's always I'm always,
and that's why the country is making meaningful progress. Look at the level of progress we have with Singapore. It's
one of the smallest countries in the world. One of the
smallest
countries in the world.
They know that, look, just the dreams of Lee would amount to nothing if they don't kill corruption. So they first decided that, look, in this our country, on this journey of progress and development and nation building, if you steal one kobo, equally.
All right, well, there's still a lot to unpack from this particular one. Aside from Emefiele, there are other names that were mentioned as people who worked for Emefiele. Aside from his wife, rather, there were other people who worked for Emefiele that gave instructions. And, you know, the businesses that received this cash flow, we have Limelight Multidimensional Limited, Commerce Support Services Limited, and 𝐴nSBAWASIN Resources Limited, Mango Farms. I don't know, even from the name, you just
Mango Farm.
Mago.
Okay, Mago. I thought Mango Farm.
No. Mago.
No, names are easy to create. All these briefcase companies, they are special purpose vehicles to take money away.
All right. Well, the story is on page 24 rather, of the Punch newspaper. Time check right now is 2 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Please do well to drop your submissions as the show progresses on the live chat section on both platforms. Moving on now, still on the front page of the Punch, just by the masthead, Samoa agreement. Reps demand suspension as NBA faults same-sex allegation, and that is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. So just very quickly, the NBA has defended the federal government's endorsement of the Samoa agreement, declaring it contained no clause on same-sex marriage. And the president of NBA came in, surrounding the pact as the House of Reps has asked the federal government to suspend that. But then in trying to give some sort of clarity as regards this, it said it lays down common principles and covers the following 6 priority areas, which are democracy and human rights, sustainable economic growth and development, climate change, human and social development, peace and security, and migration and mobility. Other areas included in the agreement include human and social development, access to social services, education, health, food security, and so on and so forth, women and youth development in the implementation of policies that are affecting them. And it's just a lot to, that is in this. But debunking the agreements contained an LGBT clause stating that the partnership with the European Union seeks to resolve peculiar issues of each region based on universally accepted international laws, conventions, and treaties applicable. And also the fact that they're looking at, the fact that, yes, thank you. Clarifying the terms of the pact, noted that the Samoa Agreement recognizes Nigeria's Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act 2023, insisting that it was made based on local laws. So that supersedes whatever is in the agreement, and also the fact that our Constitution 1999, as amended, also supersedes whatever is in the Samoa Agreement. And that's just, the NBA trying to bring out some defense of some sort as regards that particular one.
Can we move on, Sandra?
All right. The story is on page 2.
Don't waste time on.
Moving on now, just above the masthead of the Punch, we also have here 19 Nigerian airports are not viable, says FAN. That's on page 25. Get more details there. We also have here, as regards power blackout, NERC rolls out tough sanctions against discos. Is that right? That's on page 25. And finally, off the front page of the Punch newspaper, this really interesting one. I've been looking forward to have this conversation. NEF demands grazing reserves as Tinubu plans livestock ministry. So, what? Ministry of Livestock Development.
That's nice.
Is it? Is it?
Oh, yeah. I want you to have your report.
No, no, really.
You don't know it's important to increase our livestock in Nigeria.
So
the president has said we have a lot of potential in livestock development.
Yeah. So I get that, but it's so important that we have to create an entire ministry for it. So what happened to Agriculture and Food Security Ministry? Or is livestock no longer part of agri?
No, like you said, I'm just actually waiting that we need to add one more ministry and we bring that out of the agri ministry again. Fishery and aquaculture, the Ministry of Fishery and Aquaculture. I think we need to add that to it, Sandra.
So it should have its own ministry as well.
Yes, is fishery not a big business? If livestock is a big business, I think fishery too. Don't you think?
So
and aquaculture.
So we would have 3 different ministries that looks at agriculture.
Sandra, there's one that used to be one before. Now we divided it into 3. Power, solid minerals, and steel was almost like one ministry before. Now we have power ministry, we have the solid mineral ministry, and we have the Ministry of Skill Development. So if we can do, look, let's continue to expand. By the time we get to 100, people will get tired. You don't understand? I'm in a very good mood this morning. It's obvious from the way we have these conversations. So I think that, look, one of the first things we must agree on this morning, Sandra, is that let's forget about any attempt or decision to implement the Oᴘᴇɪ report. This Oᴘᴇɪ report about merging ministries, and all of those things, using the cost of governance, blah blah blah. Barrister Cotty said something on Sunday that in Nigeria, when we are not intentional about implementing anything or getting anything done, we set up a committee. Remember that in February, the president set up a committee to look at how we are going to implement the Oᴘᴇɪ report, and I think he gave them 12 weeks. Standard.
Yes. 12
weeks has passed. That committee has finished its job. Their report is now, I think, with the House of Reps. Another committee of the House of Reps is reviewing that committee report again. You don't understand what I'm saying? I am sure that after they do that one again, another committee will be set up to draw up a white paper. And then I'm sure that another committee will also. Can you see that we are just deceiving ourselves? Really? Because at the end of the day, Sandra, at the end of the day, this is a government that has mounted severally the idea of cutting down the cost of governance. For the first time in the history of the country, we have the largest cabinet ever. Where is Brother Oyetola, Sandra, Ministry of Marine and Blue Ocean Economy? What has he been able to do since that ministry was created? You remember that the last time on our show, one of our shows, where his special advisor or his spokesperson came, he said they are still drawing up a blueprint after over 1 year of that ministry. That one is there. And several, you remember that it was recently that we even discovered that some ministers were even their Greek minister until recently.
Yeah, it was quite silent.
So again, are we saying, Sandra, are we actually saying that a department, I'm sure there's a department of livestock development in the Ministry of Agriculture, cannot be activated to do whatever they want to do as far as livestock development is concerned in Nigeria? So that industry is so big that we have to create an entire ministry for it again, Sandra. I'm not saying that we cannot look at the potentials of livestock development in Nigeria. Yes, there's a lot of potential for us as far as livestock development is concerned.
Well,
but is it that important?
Let's look at the rationale behind the creation of this, or behind the intended creation of this new ministry. All right, because what we are having is just hints that we are getting here and there. It's not like it's been done. So the president is hinting at creating this new ministry to, among other benefits, curb decades of gory clashes between herders and farmers. All right, and okay. So what we have is that there's a need for there to create or establish a separate ministry called the Ministry of Livestock Development, that would develop the economy and give people the opportunity to excel and all of that. But expressing readiness to implement recommendations on ranching and other livestock reforms in order to enhance the country. There's also a committee for HAD.
The committee,
that's inaugurated. So there's also a committee that's been inaugurated. The Presidential Committee on Implementation of Livestock Reforms.
Another committee.
All right, and that's their job, to implement recommendations on ranching and livestock reforms. That's what they're going to put them together to do. And former chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Jega, is the co-chairman of that committee.
The president is the chairman.
The president is the chairman. So this committee has been inaugurated, and there's been months and months of deliberation. And the first recommendation from this committee is the creation of a Ministry of Livestock Resources.
I am saying, as a Lagosian with a lot of water bodies, because a lot of my people in Badagry are fish farmers and they thrive on aquaculture. A lot of my people from Lagos State in Epe I'm also demanding so that we can develop aquaculture and fishery, that we also create a ministry of fishery and aquaculture. It's very important. If we can create for livestock.
But before you get there, you get there, you need a committee. So, but if not put together a committee,
they have to create a committee for us too, and then the committee will now recommend that we need a meeting. I'm saying it for my own people too. You understand what I'm saying? Because yes, I know even my people in the footing in Lagos Island need that ministry to try. I don't know whether Niger Delta people like Ege Joshua who also need that ministry. I'm just saying for us in Lagos as a Lagosian. You understand? That ministry is very important for us too. We need that. We have to continue to create more ministries under. Well, I am also thinking that with this ministry of livestock development that will be created, I'm sure they have considered people who do piggery as part of the business. It's not just about cows and goats and rams. So when you want to call livestock, it's big part of it. Piggery business too.
Chickens.
Because Mietiala is already celebrating. If you go to Kiarola and we have pig farms there.
Yes.
People in Badagry are pig farmers, big farmers too. They must be supported as part of the livestock development of the nation. If we want to model up everything, let's modulate everything. Because we are just saying the hospital, are just deceiving ourselves to our reality. We say one thing today, we do another thing tomorrow. That's our variance as what we are saying. And whether you like it or not, people are already seeing politics in all of this, Sandra. People are already saying that this is just about politics. People are already saying that this is about 2027. We are only robbing the egos of these people. Whether you like to the Miyetti Alabi for the elders are influential northerners. They can't pull out the votes. They need to be. You see, at the end of the day, where is sincerity of purpose in all of these standards?
And priority of the state as well. Well, thank you.
When we were talking about that Sᴘᴏʀᴛ report in February and then the committee 12 weeks, remember that was at the period where everybody was saying, government should use cost of governance. So they threw that at us. How many months down the line now the committee is still being deliberated? It was 12 weeks I was giving. Here we are now, we are creating more ministry. We are about to create it. Because again, if the committee is recommending the creation of one ministry, know that whether we like it or not, unless they consult to the outcry of the people, by success will be done.
All right.
But again, the most great ministry of fishery and aquaculture, that one's very important for my own people in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Well, there's a lot to unpack from that particular report, and we'll carry on the conversation from the report of the Guardian, because it's the major report on the Guardian. Major report on the front page of the Guardian. So let's move on to the Guardian newspaper now. And
they highlighted it well already. I'm sorry, people think that there's this part, but again, the way the Guardian took the story, it was not just about report. Now you have some analysis from the report of the Guardian newspaper. So that makes it a more complete report for me. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. Because I was there's a particular paragraph there that I was looking forward to taking. So Tinubu woos herders with livestock ministry, increases fiscal strain. There we go. That's where I was going.
Fiscal strain.
That's where I was. So that's where I was going. And this is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. This is 15 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Now, the major headline on the front page of the Guardian is as regards this new ministry conversation, and I'll just take a paragraph from the Guardian which says this decision will come at a cost, an extra financial burden on the government, and more strain on scanty and slow-growing public revenue, especially at the time that the administration was considering a piecemeal implementation of the Oronsoye report, seeking to merge and downgrade some ministries, departments, and agencies.
It's not the entire report. It was supposed to be a piecemeal implementation of the report. Now, where's the piecemeal now?
All right. So, it's just interesting days ahead as regards this particular one. The Guardian is reporting that the extra burden is coming at the toughest time in the country's history. Nominal revenues, for instance, are growing at a sluggish rate. In real terms, the growth is almost stagnant. We're almost making nothing. Sadly, about 77% of the retained revenue went into debt servicing, leaving a paltry sum for other spending needs and all of that. So the unmatched revenue and expenditure equation means critical infrastructure, which should reduce economic insecurity that fuels, farmer herder crisis, is being left unattended to or poorly funded. Critical infrastructure, here now, that's what the Guardian is reporting, saying that from January to September, infrastructure and other capital projects only received a certain amount in allocation and all of that. So the fiscal crisis is worsened by unavailable or an unaffordable debt.
And we are creating more problems.
And now here
in our lives to be, to want to solve a problem that we are not even going to solve, really.
Now, of late, bond offers are beginning to suffer under subscription, putting a question on the perception that the domestic market is big enough for the government to play in. So sources familiar with the challenge currently faced by the government say the unfunded component of this year's budget could run into trillions. Now, if that happens, the government will be forced to begin to ration current expenditure, part of which will go into funding this, our new Ministry of Livestock.
It has to be funded. You can't create a ministry. You're going to employ people, get, current expenditure. Again, because these are people don't, because I have seen all manner of, very funny arguments. There are people who just want to continue to, support. It's again, what we are saying here is this. When we talked about the Diaspora Commission too, and we said that in the spirit of reducing the cost of governance, we don't need to create a whole Diaspora Commission separate from Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A debt Ministry of can actually deal with that. The same thing. Look, what I'm saying is that a department, now that there's a committee, Abby, why can't the committee work with the department in the Ministry of Agri?
There is a department, actually.
There's a department already, so why can't the department and the committee, or must you create a whole ministry for livestock development? And that's why people are already seeing political coloration to the conversation. That it's just about politics. It's about rubbing the ego of this guy.
Fahad, permit me to play, some sort of devil's advocate here.
It's okay.
Because here we have Baba Othman Gelzama, that's the president of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, who last month had appealed to the president to create a livestock ministry. And here we have now, he's saying, in reaction to this hinting of creating this ministry, that it's a promise kept. We are expressing profound appreciation to the president for the creation of the ministry.
Congratulating the president already.
Yes. He said there's a potential of $1 trillion livestock ministry.
And now people the Fish Farmers Association, because I have brothers, I have sisters who are also fish farmers, and we are going to start the advocacy now. We need that ministry for fishery. Very, very important. It's the only cow that we eat in the country. The fish farming business is also has the potential. So they cannot keep us on one desk, the Ministry of Agri. We need a full-fledged ministry for fishery. I'm from Lagos State, and I know what fishery can do for people in Badagry and my people in Lagos State. So we need that ministry here. Let's continue to create the ministry. You understand what I'm saying? That look, for this livestock, it's not yet. I'm sure people who do piggery should also stand up now and say, look, whatever you do in that ministry, you must carry us along. Everybody must be carried along.
All right.
It's not about nation building.
So now we're going to be having a division. There'll be crop agriculture. I'm guessing now.
What about crop and
we have crop agriculture. Then now we'll have animal agriculture. And all of that.
Even for crop development too, we can have a ministry for crop development.
So what's
another ministry?
So what exactly is the Ministry of Agriculture going to cover?
It will not be the overall, just the looking at all of them. It will be the children on that.
What are you saying?
Oversight ministry.
Oh dear Lord. Well, there's a lot to actually unpack from this. As mentioned earlier, it
can be oversight ministry. I will just look at all of them. They will be under it. The big ministry looking at the smaller ministry. Everybody working together for nation building. You don't understand, Sandra. That's how to do it.
Well, meanwhile, the Guardian is also reporting that the Senate has asked the federal government to halt the scrapping of the National Film and Video Censors Board as part of efforts to implement the
in fact, we should create a ministry for film and cinematography in the country.
Oh, the irony is actually really it's very interesting here, Fuhad, because what we have is that there are concerns here. So we have Minister Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, all right, that was separated when we used to have
Culture and
tourism, so they removed arts and they separated tourism and then left arts, and then we also have culture and then we have information. All of that, they've all been separated anyways, basically. All right, so the recommendation from the Oᴘᴜᴜ report, 800-page report that recommended that 263 of the statutory agencies be slashed, 38 agencies be scrapped, 52 should be merged, 14 should be reverted to departments in various ministries. But then if we are looking at the creation of livestock development
ministry,
the creation of livestock ministry, and then we're looking at the scrapping of the film and video censors.
No, we should not scrap it though, because that board is also, we should not scrap anything. I think at this point we should not even scrap it. We should add more to everything now. Let's open it up. We have the money, we can run it. We can run the package, Sandra.
Is that right?
The film industry is also big. It's very, very big. I actually don't think a desk should be sufficient for that film industry. There should be a ministry, a whole ministry for film development. And whether we like it or not, it's one of their biggest exports, our field.
Yeah, true.
So we should have a whole ministry. Why are we scrapping anything film?
I mean,
it can even run products with livestock, I'm telling you, in terms of what we can get. It can even bring in foreign.
The movie industry, or I don't know if you call it movie, or the film industry in South Korea.
Call it whatever you want to call it, the creative industry, put everything together.
The creative industry in South Korea contributes almost about 20-something to 30%.
You now see why I say we need a ministry.
Of that. So, but then we also have here, Fuhad, that the Oᴜᴜᴜ report is a committee report that should not override an act of parliament.
We just go and put that report away, and instead of wasting time, we know we are not going to implement it. So why don't we just take that report? The report has been there since when? When was that report put together, Sandra?
Oh,
how many years ago? So it means you are not ready to implement the report. You are just deceiving us. Why did you just keep the report there alone? There are several reports that are gathering dust in the coffers of government. Every time we just deceive ourselves. The same thing is happening to the Muhammadu Waste report on electoral reform that we get for years.
All right.
That's why again I'm saying that when you see that we create a committee, it is when we are not really ready to solve any problem.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Appreciate your contribution. We have just a few minutes left. More details of this on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. That's as regards the new ministry. And Tinubu woos herders with livestock ministry and increases fiscal strain at this time now. All right. We also have here on the front page of the Guardian, Senate raises alarm over empty food reserve warns of imminent protest. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here federal government.
Empty food reserve. Did you have a reserve anywhere?
You used to have.
The national reserve where grains are supposed to be brought out.
For it to be empty now, meaning that it was full at some point.
What was full? At what point was it full? And how did we get it empty?
Well, Stories on page 3. You know, I'm just talking about the livestock development ministry
You did what you think they do so.
has taken a lot from me. But then, with acute hunger and hardship occasioned by the unbearable rise in the cost of food items, an angry Senate disclosed yesterday that the country has no food.
Oh, the Senate is angry
in its reserve. Yes, the Senate
Wonderful.
is angry. Yes,
that there's no food.
They have also charged the
in the
government
reserve?
to adequately inform the general public on steps being taken to avoid negative reactions from the citizenry. Well, moving on, we also, that story is on page 3. It's a very interesting one. We also have here on the front page of the Guardian, federal government enlists NSA military to secure power infrastructure against vandalism. That's on page 15.
We are overstretching our military. You know, we're still talking about.
Yes, we're still saying it yesterday.
For the agriculture yesterday.
We are partnering with them to cover arable lands. And
so what happens to the police? The police, the civil defense. You know, on agri now we're supposed to bring in the military. That was announced yesterday. So,
yes.
You know,
to
power
secure arable
infrastructure.
lands. Now we have power infrastructure. Yeah.
And the military would have to be involved again. Well,
all right.
Anyways.
The story is on page 15. I also have here, farmers decry sale of Ondo Forest Reserve to firm. And that's on page 7. Very quickly, what we have is that farmers cultivating farmlands in Oluwa Forest Reserve in Odigbo Local Council of Ondo State have condemned the alleged sale of over 2,000 hectares of the reserved land to a private company by the state government. So they're kicking against this development, lamenting that the expanse of farmland was rented to them by the government over 25 years ago. And they have been paying for the required fees for the occupation of that particular reserve. So now, according to these farmers, who are going to about 10,000, all right, and they spoke with the chairman of the Oluwa Forest Reserve farmers, Abayomi Isile, a CFO had been issued to the private company that bought parts of the forest reserve, which they argued negates the procedure of acquiring a government-owned forest reserve. What? So
what's the time going to be using the land for?
So, I mean, because we are talking about food insecurity, and now we are taking farms.
We are selling our farmland
from farmers.
Depends on because the state would argue now that maybe not the entire forest, blah blah blah, and that whatever this firm will be doing, probably manufacturing or something, would also create employment. You know, you're going to have these counter arguments come now.
Farmlands that have already been cultivated, where we have yams, cassava, maize, cocoa, kola nut, among others, are already being bulldozed.
That's just the unfortunate thing, really. That's really, really, really very unfortunate. I think these farmers can actually, take the government to court, seek compensation, and probably a reversal of the sale.
As if they have documents.
It's not impossible.
All right.
Of course, they said they have an agreement. They've been paying, so there must have been a lease agreement. So they can test this in court. Seek some form of compensation. I'm just saying. What else is left for them?
I'm sorry.
But the government don't collect money from this person.
I just saw another report. The story is on page 7 of the Guardian. Finally, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we are running out of time. NDDC to borrow 1 trillion naira to fund the 2024.
They don't care what. I told you about budget appropriation. You appropriate, there's no money really to finance anything.
That's right.
So they have to borrow to run what they are saying is that they will need that 1 trillion to run some capital projects. The NDDC. Capital projects.
Yeah. That's what they are saying. Yeah.
Even when they get the money, we still really do those projects. You know the story of the NDDC, the man that fainted, Professor Ponde. Off your mind. Standard.
I'm not going to do that. But I don't think anybody's going to forget anytime. And that's why I just quickly had to take that. You can get more details on it. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time. I would have looked, deeper into that particular report. But it's on page 28 of the Guardian newspaper.
They're looking at 1 trillion naira, Sandra, to borrow 1 trillion
to fund critical projects in 2024. The Niger
Delta.
The entire
budget of that means I think it's about 1.2 trillion.
The Niger Delta Development Commission.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
wonderful.
Very necessary. All right. Well, to wrap things up this morning, thank you for staying with us. It is still Mainland 98.3 FM. Trends in the papers is what you're listening to. And on the front page of Vanguard, we have here as the major headline, 400 billion naira oil production shortfall threatens 2024 budget. And we have riders to that. Federal government tackling issues, says the presidency. Kyari, 2 million barrel per day production achievable. IOCs, Nigeria needs to attract contractors back. And stories on page 5 of Vanguard. Oh, we don't have. It's just really unfortunate. To look at that. But then that's what we have. So if we're having a shortfall on our 2024 budget, the possibility of the fact that we will need to create another, a supplementary one in order for us to wrap things up.
We have to borrow more money.
Also borrow more money.
We have to continue to borrow fund the budget.
These are the issues.
We are creating more minutes.
All right, it's also very important for us to note, because I don't think we've talked about this enough on this platform. So, yes, the SANU-NASU protest or strike is still ongoing over the fact that over non-payment of 4.5 months salary that's withheld by the government. So, you have Unilag, you have French Village in Badagry, you have LASU. Oh, no, that's not LASU, sorry. All right, you have Unilag, you have French Village Badagry, you have College of Medicine Unilag, you have OAU, you have Alex Okweme Federal. I mean, there's a lot of schools here that are currently affected by the protest of SANU and NASU. All right, that's what we have here. We'll see how we can get more details on that one much later on other shows, but we just thought to quickly bring that up. And that's a wrap for today on Trends in the Papers, but don't go anywhere. Please stay tuned. We'll be back for Mainland Focus in a few minutes. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Please stay tuned.